Hello, everyone, and how are we? Another week, another woodworking wisdom. So today, I'm going to look at something which I play around a little bit. I use occasionally, so this will be good practice for me. It's one of those weird. Ben say you're laughing now. It could be described as an art. I think it's probably the best way of getting it right. Takes a little bit of practice, but don't let that put you off. The only way you're going to get better at something like this, get the tools out, have a play. So today is a non-pressure type one, because what I want to try and do is just go over the basics of thread chasing. How you can set up, what you need, all those little things, a few little tricks, little things that hopefully help you without actually trying to make anything. And my best advice, you want to have a go? Exactly that. Have a play, sit down, get comfortable with what you got to do. And it does take a little bit of an effort, okay? So what is thread chasing? It is the art of using two tools to cut an internal and an external thread on timber. It has been around for centuries. Next I kick myself now because I saw an item at the weekend, a little needle case in boxwood, at a show for £35, and it had a screw thread lid. It was like, oh wow, it's £35. I should have bought it. I should have bought three of them, but they only had one. But I mean, it was fantastic. So, been around for donkey's years. Thread chasing's been around a couple of 100 years. The guys are, they're still going. That's a little bit of an art. So, we need to do something where, and I think, Ben, if we go overhead, well, unscrew this, you can see I've got a screw thread on here. I can unwind it. So, you could join two bits of wood together. So, you have an internal and an external. I've done something nice and simple here. Use a tube, which is something I use quite regularly on certain things. So I can actually make two components, fit them together. Okay, so that will screw up. So you can cut that on a standard wood lathe. Right, so I'm just going to put that out of the way. Where do I use it? It's got a number of little things. So I've got these bits of work in front of me. So let's spin this round so it becomes more relevant. As we all know, I make lots of boxes. This thing, Cyclops, got that little eye as a lid. Let's unwind this. So screws up. Have our lid. On the back of here, we have our thread chase section. So this is African blackwood. We have an insert ring on here. You can see the black. Okay. Now the reason for doing insert ring, the main material, the red material on here is redwood burr or burl from the States for the guys out there. Tricky to put a thread in, very soft. There are ways I could do it. Super glue is an amazing thing, but it can be easier to put that line of blackwood in. So you can screw that in. You can see, obviously, with our ball, things are off center. I've got that little handle bit in the middle, almost like that eye. So that's quite a fun thing. I love these because they're designed to sit at a funny angle. They will roll about. So I'm going to put it back on this O-ring. Okay. So we've done one. What about the pot? Let's bring this over. Similar thing. So you can see the lid we've got. This will unscrew. So it's a way of adding maybe a lid to something that's not just going to fall off. So I can pick it off. I think, Ben, I don't know if we can go, where am I on the overhead? You can see the thread chasing there a bit better. Again, African blackwood. Now we're going to go for a few things on that in a second. But so we've got our thread chase section. Again, we've used an insert on the top of this, which makes it a bit decorative. Quite a small hole. All right. So that will go in. The thin nail on the top, which probably one of you is going to ask, is one piece of wood. Turn between centres. So it starts off on centre. Turn it to a cylinder. That would have been central, I think. Then I'll move it off centre an equal amount and do each stage. That's a little bit scary. I will tell you, the thin nail took as long as making the hollow pot. All right, so that gives you the scope of that. It takes a bit of time, that little finial. Beautiful piece of wood. I think that was Ben's favourite question the other day. Is, what's that? Okay, let's have a look on free. Look, Ben. You can have a guess, some of you. All right. This came from Nick Hagar when he was over here. He had a friend who had the tray. I got two bits, so one bit to make the cap for the lid, one bit for the base. I've had it sitting in my workshop for years. Okay, so quite a nice, interesting piece of wood. What do you all think it is? We'll find out. I will tell you. Ben, you're going to remind me by the end of this. Okay, so let's just strip a few things down that we don't need on the lathe now. So we're doing this. Thread chasing. The chasers we're getting. In actual fact, let's just leave our board for a second because it's going to be helpful. Tool-wise, I've got my thread chasers, okay? I get them in a pair. You have an internal, external. They have lots of little teeth on them. Ooh, that's better. You can sort of ground the top, so I hollow grind up my bench grinder. I will diamond file it to give it a bit of a sharper edge, okay? But you'll get them as a pair. And threads go, what sizes can you get? You can get 4, and I used to have a set of 4 TPI. Incredibly coarse, very difficult to use to cut a nice clean thread. They go up to 32. Now, 32 is better for things like the plastic, bone, ivory, those sort of things. I tend to use about a 20 TPI. So that's a good place to start. They're quite an easy one to work with, 18 or 20 TPI. All right. So you'll buy a pair. Don't go just buying one. If you're seeing a car boot sale or something silly like that and you've only got one, it's not going to do what you're going to want. So we've looked at our chasers. Let's take this off. Got to do a little bit of prep on certain things. Don't want to go over a few problem areas, so I'm just losing things out of the way. Timber, what can you have? In reality, something hard and dense would be good. So good examples I can give you. Boxwood is probably one of the best ones, okay? And luckily in England, we get a good supply of box. This is from mine at home. I have regular good stocks of boxwood. I call it gold, okay? Getting tricky to get hold of, get nice sizes, takes a bit of drying. So if you get some, we get it offered to you. Keep it in nice long lengths, let it dry slowly. Keep it out the sun. We'll do it wonders. Seal the end with some PVA glue. That'll help you, okay? So boxwood is a really good one. Lignum vitae, African blackwood. So all those hard, dense woods can be good. But like I said, you can get away with using super glue to harden the areas you want to thread. We might look at that next week, okay? So this week is purely about the aspect of showing you how we can cut a thread. Next important thing. And this is a little bit of prep before you get to it. The thread chasers, hopefully, when you buy them, if you turned over the undersides, these are nice and clean, but no sharp corners. They're slightly rounded, right? That's important. If you find you've got a sharp corner, soften it. Diamond file, normal file, some abrasive paper. Take that sharp edge off because that needs to run along that tool rest, okay? And nice and easily. If it catches on, I think, or the corner digs in, it will stop it gliding. So got to glide along, okay? And that applies to both. So soften the edges can be good, all right? Ben, just bear with me. I know you've got your hand up. He's got a question for me. So while we're on about the aspect of things gliding along, the other stupid thing which we all forget is the tool rest. So you might need to actually dress the tool rest to take out any little nicks and bumps. If you have a cast iron tool rest, this is more likely to mark with the corners of the tool. So this will help things glide along, okay? You can also run over with a little bit of abrasive paper, will be good. Just before we go to Ben, main advantage I would definitely say with robust rest that I'm just putting in, hardened stainless steel bar across the top doesn't tend to mark. So you don't get those dents like a cast iron rest. It's also got that curved shape. It helps things glide. So definitely worth playing with. So if you keep an eye on me this afternoon, I'm pretty sure you're going to find out the robust rest will be on there. Okay, Ben, what have you got?
So we've got some guests on the...
You want to know if I'm chasing Frederick from Kent? No, not yet. Okay.
We got some good guests. And Peter actually got it first time, first guess. But there's a cottonwood, figured maple, maple again. Maple's come up a few times.
Okay. But cottonwood, I would have thought it's a bit soft. Wow. And then, beautiful figure, though. I know it's got a... sorry, Ben.
No, not at all. And then Peter got it right. He got it right, yeah.
Okay.
He did better than me.
Cottonwood will be a bit soft and fibrous. I've even still got some boxwood that we've got in here that I played with yesterday, and I reckon it's got a little bit of spalting or rot where it's been stored. Hasn't been dried well. Should be dry, but even when we cut it now, it cracks. But I reckon it's got a bit of spalting, and it's very crumbly. It doesn't cut nicely. So even that can be a little bit of a cat. So my advice, if you looked at your boxwood and you want to buy it, make sure it's got that lovely clean colour. Go back into that. Nice clean yellow colour. No streaks of green or blue. This has just got a line here, but that's not spalting. But anything that looks like a greeny blue colour, no, I reckon it's got a bit of rot. And it won't cut nicely. Okay? All right. Okay. Done. So far we've said about your prep. Tools need to be clean underneath. Got to slide along that tool rest. Any little dents in here, clean them up. Okay? So we've looked at the chasers. We've said about 4 to 32 TPI, all those sort of things. Other thing I use are arm brace. So what is an arm brace? This is longish handle, straight piece of metal with a hook on the end. In reality, I think then if I can get my hand in the right place, that's the hook on the end, look guys. So the chaser will sit, I can do this, wrong one, in there. You're going to see me use it like that. All the way over, all right? So it'll be hooked in. You'll see me use it, all right? So quite an important part. My arm brace is quite an important commodity. I will use a lot. Again, it's got a slide. So I need to make sure this is nice and clean underneath. Again, this has got a rounded edge actually on the and quite heavily softened on the corners. So again, if you've got one isn't soft, clean it up. Likewise, if it's gone rusty or got lots of marks on it, can be worth cleaning that off. Okay, so done that bit. Sharpening, which I know someone's going to say, we've already looked at a little bit. I tend to hollow grind on the top. That doesn't show it too right, a little bit on the tarmac. But obviously then you can go with something, if I quickly just turn around and grab it, your diamond file, go back into play, we can bridge across that hollow, up and down. That restore edge. You can't go sharpening anything on the front. Okay, the only place is on the top edge, and that's on both. So we covered the sharpening bit. Timbers we've already said. Next and most important thing, the lathe. Speed. You've got to be able to drop the speed down really slow. Okay, so 2 to 600 RPM maximum. 600 is hard work. It's too quick. 300 is probably a good speed to try and thread chaser. It gives you the time to adapt and do what you're trying to do. All right, that sounds a weird line, but if the lathe is running too quick, you've got to feed the chasers along and remove them before you bottom out or hit the wall. If you hit the wall, you strip the thread. Okay, Ben's got another question for us.
So a question here from Donna. She's asking, we probably wouldn't know of a good source of boxwood in the USA, but is there any alternatives?
Ooh. In the States, I know you can get box. Craft Supplies USA have some. Anything dense, but you get into expensive materials if you're not careful. I'm quite amazed, actually, timber in the States isn't always that expensive. Some of the hard rock maples will definitely thread. The soft sugar maples are going to be too soft to do it with, so your rock maple will definitely be a better sort of commodity, okay? All right, Ben?
And what about something like sycamore?
Now, your sycamore confuses me because sycamore is possibly a little bit soft, but again, it depends on if it's slow growing, and I have seen sycamore out there. Why did I say a sycamore confused me? Because some of your sycamore I would class as plain or London lacewood that we get over here, slightly different material. So there are different things. A white type sycamore would be good, which is what I would class as sycamore. It's a maple type tree, but again, look at slow growing stuff. Look at the growth rings if you get a chance. Other thing which you do get out there, holly. Fantastic material to work with. So holly will be nice again if you can get some nice white holly, clean, no spalting. That will hold a thread for you. Okay, so good, right? Okay, so I just thought before we strip the light down, we can move centers. So we've gone with Pro Drive and Ring Center. Okay. Oh, still got the little lathe in here. Why have we got the little lathe in here? Because Ben left it from yesterday. It works. I just thought it'd be nice to have a change for a different lathe. So I've already marked out a dot on the end of my boxwood just to give me an idea where the center is. Lock things up. Going to just change tool wrist just for something a little bit longer so I can do this in one without moving the banjo. Turn things over, turn the speed down. We can come up. So first we've got to do is rough this down. So I think, Ben, let's go to 2. Look, that looks better. Okay. camera-free Ben, I think you're just going to have a quick look at. Okay. So Ben's just playing with camera cheaply, guys, so I hope it'll focus in a little bit. Now, the reason we need to change it, we focused on the box earlier so we could get it in. That looks bad, Ben, thank you. So, spindle wrapping out. Again, with this, I can start, hand it in low, you've got an unequal shape. Bring it up gently. Find the shaving, move along. Now, I've also got my left foot on the outboard side of the headstock, where the stand is. I've got my feet, so they're almost in a triangle formation. So my right foot is facing away, and my hand's going out here. All right, so level or parallel to the lathe bed. The left foot is towards the front of the lathe. So that's given me a nice, steady, supporting structure just to run this up and down on. And it's a minor thing to discuss with you, but body stance is so important when you use your lathe. Also means I can keep talking while we just wrap this down. It's not that exciting. So we have it down to a cylinder. Oh, nice stuff, eh? We want to clean up the ends. So a 3/8 beading tool. So again, handle started low, gently arcing towards the middle. So we're picking up and coming in. The other end. That's lovely. Stream of shavings. So just playing around, putting a spigot on one end, to our tenon, if you like, just to fit in the chuck. Before we go anywhere with that, let's take the chuck off the wall. We can check. That didn't look bad. It was a good guess. On here, I've got the C jaws, which is probably the most common jaws we've always sold. I suppose over that amount of years that we've sold this, I've got a good idea of what the diameter is, just by eye. So we're really close, which will be good. You can take the tailstock off and put them out the way. Knockout bar, so we can hopefully get that out. That's good. Now, if I was doing this as a proper box, I wouldn't do what we're going to do now. But we could actually work it this way. We can bend the rules. We can, all right. But I think we're still going to do it as I normally would. But I've got a spigot on there. I can now got that in. We'll cut one down here. Look. That'll do. Then we want parting tool. No one here doing and parting off. But not one continuous cut. So I've actually widened that cut as we've gone in. So I've just used a tiny 1/16 parting tool. And basically, I will widen it as I go in. It's got that unusual grinder put on here. So you've got a rounded bottom, hollow grind on the top. That adds more strength to the cutting tip. Instead of just being one cut, which will bind on the side and cause it to burn, I open the cut up. So gradually getting a bit wider the deeper I go in. So we're going to do the inside of a female thread first. Okay. So I've got to go into there. No, I haven't got here, but we'll manage. I'm going to do a V in the middle. That just helps me. I'm going to rough out with a bowl gouge just to take some of this out. That's a bit heavy in there. Normally I'd have a drill hole in the center as a guide. And again, this stage, just trying to be nice and quick. So we've got a roughed out section. Probably a bit coarse. We need to check, first of all, going to be parallel sided for where we do our thread chasing. I can use my square sided scraper to get in here and clean up with. Just put it height down a little bit into the middle. I can come out from the centre. So our left hand's working with the fingertips in behind, pulling parallel. I can stir up the side. Clean that out. Right, so I've gone a bit deeper than we might do. It depends on the shape of your box. Now, paramount thing with this, at this stage, if I was going to make it the box, I might even sand it now. Most important thing is what we've just cut is parallel. So at the moment, if I sight it, I can line up, and this is a weird way of doing this, up with the lathe bed. Suggest actually I taper a little bit. You can see it beautifully on the camera there. Isn't that good? I can watch it back there. Okay, so which way do I need to go? A bit out the back. All right. If it is not parallel, you're not going to cut a parallel thread, which therefore means it's not going to be straight when it fits onto the base. It will tighten the further you try and push it on. Which is quite deep, which is good at the moment. Back in. That looks better, doesn't it? That looked beautiful in there. I did work this morning trying to get the cameras set up so you can try and get as good a view on this as you can, which isn't easy. Okay, now, can see a little bit. I go. And just go to overhead for me. Other way, Jason. I did wonder. Right, just going to bring the advantages of having a smaller lathe. All right, I can move it around nice and easily, which is good. Right, Ben, let's do a question whilst I just throw that out. I will look at you.
So I've got a couple of questions, Jay. Sorry, let me just quickly go back. So Mark's asking, would beech work?
It will, but it's a bit brittle. Beech is a weird one. If you get nice, clean, and the problem is most of us don't get the scenario of how I'm going to phrase this. You don't get the chance to go and have the tree cut down and planked within a time period that it's clean off the floor and you can dry it quickly. It can be kiln dried, but that makes it a bit too, I prefer air dried. But it needs to be cut and planked really quickly. The longer it sits on the floor, you start to get a bit of rot and decay. Doesn't work as well. Beech can be, especially if it's kiln dried, a bit brittle. It fluffs out a bit. But super glue, thin super glue can be really good. And I think next week when we're going to look at doing an acorn box, I might try and do the aspect of, we'll do the super glue trick with you. So you can see how you can use thin super glue, get over that issue. 200 years ago, they didn't have thin super glue, so they couldn't use it. So of course there's that stigma behind using some of the softer woods. I've even cut a thread, and I'll try and remember next week, try and bring in one of the pots, or got a picture of it, thinking about it, we'll show you next week, similar to the little pot we've done today. In Japanese cedar, which is incredibly soft, and I cut a thread in that, but I use super glue. Okay, so you can get away with it. All right,
and we've got a couple more species here, just to throw it. Yeah,
has anyone got it yet?
A mountain ash. Yeah, someone got it earlier. I can't remember.
You said what? American ash?
Mountain ash.
Mountain ash. You're thinking more American, but it's actually, I've got to get it right. It is actually ash, but an amazing piece of ash for something over here. It's almost. We would assume almost like massa birch or something. But from what I understand, when I had the tree, and I have a bowl in it as well, I made the whole of the log from top to bottom, had that figure all the way around the outside edge. It was stunning. Okay. So I was very privileged to get that from Nick, which was great.
And then Frederick's saying hornbeam.
No, sorry, Frederick.
No.
Definitely ash.
Mulberry. Oh, no. So this is.
Oh,
would it work?
Yeah. Sorry. Hornbeam, Frederick. Yes, you might get away with. But again, it's getting good stuff. Yeah. Obviously, split free, all those little things are important for this. Okay.
And then mulberry.
Mulberry's a bit soft, but it does turn like butter, and it just depends on how it holds their thread. But I think it's going to be, better I can describe it, a bit fibrous. Okay.
And we had Peter who guessed it right.
Yeah.
Peter, you got the good guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then we've got a question here from Frederick. Do you have to turn the female thread first?
You don't have to, but the easier one to refine and adjust is the male thread, the outside, which you will see. So I always tend to do a box lid first. I do that, get this bit done, then I can refine the other one to fit. So much easier. All right. Now, most times when I'm doing something like this thread, I might even actually make, like we have here, that tube, and this one's a bit open. This is that box I said was a bit funny. So I've got a tube on there, but that's the sort of thing I can set into the top of a hollow pot. So I can put it back on the lathe, cut a recess in behind, maybe put a bead on it. And we look at the pot at the end of this, and then this part I could set into the top of the lid from the underside. So those two components are the sort of thing I'd regularly do. If I'm going to do that, I even drill this out with a plug cutter. So the bit out the middle I might use. And I think we did when we did the work holding video. If you haven't seen it, it's on here somewhere a few months back. That could be a good one to go back to. We used a plug cutter to drill out the middle of some African blackwood instead of just drilling it out with a drill bit and putting it shaving. So I ended up with a 1-inch plug for something else. That could be good, but I will drill them out occasionally. All right, okay.
And then we got one more from Hodgepodge. I imagine it'd be quite difficult, but can you thread chase a tapered thread, like an MPT threads in the States?
You mean like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could do it. You could make your own. But no, you can't. If you want to set, no. Yes, you could actually make that. You can actually do exactly the same as that. Create a tape on a piece of wood, and then actually create your thread up through. All right. Okay. So at the moment we have something that's parallel inside. I need to level up the front and do a bit of work on here on that very front edge. Got another thing I want to add further back. Okay. I'm going to use my tool rest for this. I've got that 6-inch rest in for the robust thing. This is a little bit bigger than I'd normally use. We do sell a couple, but again, I could refine them. This one's down. I think, Ben, let's have a look on the overhead, I think. So this is the refinement tool to do the crush grind mechanisms. There's a clip in that ground cell, but it's a little bit wider to recess. If I was doing lots of thread chasing boxes, I would make something up, and I've had to grind things up in the past. This one's similar sort of aspect. You've got that little hook. Again, I could grind a bit off the back. So this fits in the little multi-tools we do. But what I need now is something to create a small groove in the back of here. Just do a recess. So an undercut. I know I'm going to get asked in a minute. Someone's going to say, what would you use at home? An Allen key. Okay? You could grind up an Allen key. They're quite good steel. So I've just done that one there. I've got a little bit of flap on the back edge, so I'm just going to clean up. That's good. We haven't cleaned up the front face. I'm going to be lazy. Going to go with my round nose scraper. Oh, look at that. Isn't that lovely? Next thing I need to do, soften that corner, that opening, so we don't have a hard shoulder. All right. You don't want a crisp square corner. It won't allow it to work. Next thing, we've got to set up the tool rest. So I've got a softened corner on the opening. Still got a little bit I might be able to get. So I'm going to blend into a hard edge. So I've just got my skew chisel. It's quicker to grab. That's better. Tool rest now. Going to bring it in. So Ben, let's have a look on the overhead, I think. Got to go that way a little bit. All right. Now I'll move the camera or move that back again in a minute. But what I want to show you, this is angling away from the workpiece, not set parallel. So actually, when I bring the arm brace into there with that on top, I've got a little bit of room to bring the handle towards my body. Because when we start, we're going to tip that corner there. We're not going to use the front tooth. We're going to start sort of halfway back and get in. So I'm even going to bring tool rest round a little bit more. Okay. So I can get into there. Likewise, just now playing with height of the tool rest. I can raise or lower the arm brace. I can also pull it towards me once I start my thread. So at the moment, we've got a recess that stops us hitting the very back. Gives us a break line to get the tool out before we damage and strip the thread out. Because if you drive all the way into the back edge, got nowhere else to run to, you stop it moving, you strip the thread out. Next thing you need to do, lathe speed. Drop it down. All right. 294 I'm running. That'll be good. I can cope with that. So on here, I'm going to make contact. And it will start to pull it forward by itself. We're not using the very front tooth. I can also roll or tilt the chaser on that hook. That makes sense? So I can move this about here with my right hand on the handle. I can adjust where it fits so I can create an angle. As I come into here, look where the handle is now. A bit heavy on the landing. Look how I swing that round. Now, I don't know if you'll see this, but I've now started to get, there's a couple of things. Getting some nice shavings coming out here. Started to get my thread. It's not all the way to the back, all right? But I've got some line, I've got something to catch into. Now I can start to actually swing the handle out a bit more as I come in. So it'll pick back up, pull it back round. So you can see the action of that handle coming out. Going along. Now I can keep going just square, check them all the way back in. That recess we put in the back stops this bottoming out. Go along, okay. I'm going to put things down. Let's have a quick look. First thing we said about, we're actually getting a shaving. It's really weird. Yeah, then if we can get, right, it might look like that, but getting very fine, stringy little shavings, okay? If you're not getting shavings, you'll get lots of dust. It needs to sharpen, all right? Just having a feel my finger, I want a little bit more off the back edge. Now, I can check that. We should be quite straight. We know we set things up straight. Oh, not bad. A little bit of taper from looking. If I bring that round, though, okay. Not too bad. What I don't want it being is the fact I know I've taken a bit more off the front than the back. Again, line back up. The hook is designed so I can pull it towards me. It will drop back into those threads I've already cut. The speed allows me to remove it without bottoming out. If you're running at 600 RPM, it's going to pull it back faster. You've got to have better reactions. And we're all getting older. All right, good. So we've got that edge done there. That's quite clean. Then I'm just going to clean up this face. I know I've done this already, but I've got a bit of an undercut towards the middle. Put that on properly. Want that squarer. So my real nose scraper gives me that lovely long shaving. I could just do this all afternoon, couldn't I? Other weird thing I just want to do, that one. Okay. Pencil line tells me where I'm taking it out of the chuck. Now, I think, just going to bring you back a little bit on the camera. Take that out. Don't know if you can see them. Yeah, you probably can there, all right? I'll get my hand out for that. It might focus in a bit more. It's the problem with these video cameras and self-focusing. Now, if I was doing this as a proper box and we're going to sand it and everything else, I would have sanded all of this before I cut the thread. And then I would have sanded, seal it, wax it, whatever you're going to do, then cut your thread. Okay? Right then, what have you got?
So we've got a couple of questions here. First one is from Wayne, and it's about species of wood again, whether they'd be suitable for thread chasing.
Well, what, sorry?
Talking about the fruit woods.
Okay.
So apple, cherry, pear.
Apple would be. Apple, if you can get it, it's probably the best one out of the three. Cherry, again, can be a bit fibrous, but depends on how quick a growing it is. So look at those growth rings. I've seen cherry, and I've even got some at home, real tight, close growth rings. So I think quicker growing, going to make it more fibrous, so less easy to do. Your apple would be fantastic if you can get it. All right, so and get it dry. That's the other thing you got to remember: trying to get it dry, or it's going to shrink to an oval shape. All right, done.
And then Donna's asking about the lathe speed.
Okay, you've got to be able to adjust the speed down. So as a guide, you will find people say 2 to 600. 600 for me is too fast. I've got to react too quickly to get it pulled out before I hit the bottom wall. 300's nice, but you've got to let the tool pull it along, not force. No push, just nice and gently. Okay? Don't be in a hurry. Takes practice, this. It takes a little bit of effort. Okay? But I'll tell you, it's nothing better than screwing this together, though. That's a joyous feeling of, oh, this works, but we haven't got there this afternoon. Yeah, so let's just okay. Then
we got Colwyn's in with Bob P from the AAW.
Yep.
They're on there.
Are they watching
together.
The
they're watching.
Hi, yeah. Hi guys, how are you? I'm not allowed. Okay.
What? And then Robert's asking, what TPI would you start with as a beginner?
18 to 20. So 20 tends to be my favourite. 20 I use for most objects. When I bought the number 4s, I had never even heard of thread chasing. I'd never even tried it. My number 4s, I managed to get rid of a Woodturning club demo a few years back from someone that said, they look fun. Yeah, good luck. Right? So it gives you that constant, don't go coarse. 32 is great if you're going to get into bone, ivory, those sort of things, but more difficult to control and get nice clean thread because everything's closer together. You really do need, so bone, ivory, and those sort of things are actually denser than the boxwood. So you've got to think about that thing. But 20 would be good as a start, okay? So, all right. Let's have a look. Got that one there, all right? So, feeding tool. Weird grip on here I'm using. Finger under the tool rest. Let's have a look. Now, my aim with this is actually to get this to fit on. I'm going to show you an easier way of trying, if you like. And I will say it's quite beneficial. Years ago, we had a guy that used to come down and occasionally do a course, lived over here, called Alan Batty. And this is Alan's kind of technique of making things easier to do this. So you get your step. Not quite there yet. I'm making it look hard work. But I want this to give me a guide point of where we need to be. So, a little bit there. Nearly on there, that's good. So I'm just going to take that a little bit. About that, let's try that now. This is almost like making a traditional box, just that tight. Right, so you can see now where we are, just about going to fit over. But we can use this as that stepping stone to give you a guide. Yes, you waste a little bit more material, but it takes the guesswork out of the next stage. All right, so we can see that fits on. I'm just checking the camera where we are, so you guys have got things in. All right, we look all right. Now we're going to do a cut. I want long enough to apply with this. I can always shorten it, but I need enough length to get this to work. Skim it down now. What we're trying to now aim for, and let's just see if I can reach up again, bring it in a bit. And gotta go out to you a bit, I think. No, other way, Ben, sorry. Oh, that's better. Just want to get you back in central a bit more. What I'm trying to relate here, and it's still over, this step that I've created is the depth of our thread. Okay, that makes sense. So at the moment, I'm still a bit too big. Out there. Might be better. We now need something as a clearance line. So I'm going to take a little bit off that wall. Look. So my 1/16 parting tool, so let's go too deep to create a little groove right in that corner. Don't know if you can really quite see it, a bit shadowy, but there's a little bit of a groove in there. So I've deliberately, if you like, overshot it just a little bit of this depth. So that gives me room now for where this comes along, I've got room to stop and get it out before I hit all of this. If I didn't need all of this in the way, depending on the shape of the box, we could refine it down a bit. That gives you more sight and a better approach to get in. I've left a fluffy edge on there. Get rid of it. Look, I don't like that. That's good. Nice light touch. So this now gives me access to get into here, come along up to where that groove is, get it back out. Other thing we need to do, soften that corner. That one right up in there. Okay. Right, next thing. Bring the lathe down. Ooh, too much now. Bring it up. 210, come up a little bit. Hasn't got to be exactly the same speed as you did before. Don't get thinking you've got to get spot on to where you are. All right, going to move that out, Going to do a magic trick now. Okay, first thing I want to bring the tool rest back. I want to make sure things glide on the tool rest. So I'm going to help it. And a wax. Okay. And it's weird because I can remember doing shows years ago and I can't remember the demonstrator. So Ben, let's have a look on one. And I can remember going over, what about the tool rest or something? How does that glide on there nice and equally? I said, it seems to float. And it kind of gets good, isn't it? It just didn't show me. It was that whole sort of, you just didn't see it. So little tricks that you kind of learn to there. Going to come down a bit. Now in here, we've got to get our chaser. We're going to come in a little bit of an angle. We do not want to engage that very first tooth. That's important. You don't try and bring that in. If you bring that in square, you're just going to end up with multiple rings, not a thread. So you've got to bring it in a little bit of an angle. As it starts to pick up, I'm going to stroke it, you're going to come round. Okay? You're going to be scraper type mode, higher handle. All right? I tend to put my finger over the top. All right? Can also have this circular motion. I've seen a few guys do that. Alan was a great one for that. Speed's good. So in, got to come in, very light touch when you start. Now I've started to get a thread and we're pulling along, I can start to bring the hand around. Dropped in a bit hard there. Got to get into this habit of drop the handle. Now I don't know. Ben, that's what we're looking for. I'll come to there. Look at the handle. Watch what happens. So by dropping the handle down at this stage, I'll lift the front of the tool up. It brings it away from the cutting edge off of the workpiece. So I'll go from there, back over, I'll come down, up, and almost stroking it. How do you know when you've gone enough? I've got a little bit to go. Now at the moment, I have complete threads. All right, I think you can see that look quite good. On here, I've got a little bit of a taper, starting to get a line up on here. That guide point. Now I know that's a bit big on there, just fits over. But I have got whole threads up to points. If I keep going with this, as in your chaser, I'm going to chip them out. Now I need to reduce the diameter a bit more. Back to our beading tool. Crank the speed back up. All right, so normal turning speed would be 1900 for this. I want to take a little bit off the top of those. I can also lose some of this. Give me some access. Just going to check, soften that corner. Take a tiny bit off. Drop the speed back down. While we're here, we could check. Shouldn't fit. Going to be tight. Haven't got complete threads now. I've taken the tops off. If you had a minute amount to go, you could even do this. And that will pull it along. Don't have to drive with the lathe, but it just makes it quicker, doesn't it? So speed, we're back down. That's good. Again, come in. We don't want to touch that very front tooth to start with. So we're creating that angle. Bring it round. Get into the habit of dropping that handle. So come round, get further along, trying to square up the front of this parallel with the face we want. We keep an angle, yes, we're going to cut to an angle. So it's a case of now we can use that front tooth, but I need to make sure I disengage before we hit the brick wall. See where we are. Still a little bit, if I can find it. A little bit of rum, be nice. Still a bit tight. Tight's good though. Still good, take it off. So we've got to go back up through the speed again. And this is why I said, need to be patient. We've got to take the tops off. Back down. That's important to remember. You drop the chaser on at 1600 RPM, you're definitely going to wipe everything out. Finger and thumb again. Right way up. Check my recess on the back is deep enough. Nearly going on there. Just I think a little bit cross-thread. That's better. A little bit tight still. Okay. Ooh, I'm going to take a tiny bit. Just had a quick look just to see where we are. Take a bit off. Drop the speed back down. Again, if you don't take it off like that, you're just going to chip out the threads because you'll get a bit impatient. The thread chaser can only cut down to the maximum depth, and then it will really start to scrape the tops of those triangle sections. That lovely shaving. Nice light. Back in. Screw it on what we're getting. Okay, a little bit. Oh. So, Frederick, you asked earlier about the fact of, do you always cut the female one first? This is easier to approach and reduce or adjust than getting back inside. Not impossible, but getting there, still tight on the back. So, would suggest I'm getting a little bit wider back here. Take a bit off. So, take the speed up, back down. And this becomes a bit repetitive. And the more you practice, the better you'll become at your size, everything else. Getting a little bit of an issue I've got to keep an eye on. Back corner. Down to my groove a little bit. Got to create that break line, because if that leading tooth hits that wall, we're going to strip everything out. How's that sound, Ben? Oh, squeaky. Okay. So if it squeaks, what can you do? A couple of sensible things to help you. A little bit of a paste wax. Doesn't matter what. Okay, this can be good just to put a little bit on. If you found you've got something quite dry as material and being a bit fibrous, the wax can help a little bit. Obviously, if you're going to use super glue, though, you can't use both. So I said about using the glue to harden it, but we can get away with that. That will cut down that noise action now, bringing that together. We can bring it up. Now, on here, I could kind of start to look at where things line up. I'm quite lucky with this bit of box piece we have. Colour there. It's around here. Not a lot, is it? We could bring that together. I've got to do one other thing on here. Now you can see how how different that makes that little bit of wax. Great way of just bringing that together, just checking where we are. A couple of turns might even get us up to there. I'm going to now just check before I bounce off the other bit of wood. Our shoulder. Want this to be square, cleaned up, clean out the bottom of that little groove I create. So I've taken a little bit off that shoulder line. How about that? Wouldn't that be nice? Would you know? Okay. So, put a couple of things back out the way a minute. A couple of important things we said about earlier. Okay. Major thing. Something decent to work in. Okay. So let's just have a quick look on our, okay, but sorry. All right. So our thread, you can see we've got our thread in there. These look nice with a bit of wax on. If I'd sanded and polished all of this and put my wax in, once I've cut the thread after, I can brush some wax in. Toothbrush is good for that. We can screw that on. We can see how you could easily make that into something that's quite a nice box now. Amazing how that just, a little bit, didn't take a lot, did it? Okay. So, Ben, you got any other things you want to, I'm just going to recap a few things for the guys. I don't know if you've got any other questions, you can have a quick read on your list. Major thing, get yourself some decent material. Doesn't have to cost the world. Be patient. Okay? 20 TPI, great way of starting. I've even got a new set down in here. My ones I've played with for years. Colin, if you're watching, these came from when we were downtown. So these have lasted me, oh my God, 20, 23, 24 years. A little bit of grinding on the top, nothing much. Okay? They don't need much sharpening. Look after them. You saw me earlier where I was starting to get a bit of vibration off the lathe bed when I'm doing the beading cut, and this is moving. I didn't want it dropping on the floor. I have concrete floors in here. Doesn't do these any good. So 20 TPI, best place to start. Hard, dense material. Patience. Drop the speed down. 2 to 600. 300 is a good place to go. Remember which way you're working. So we've gone from top face towards the headstock. Same way. If you pull back the other way on the inside, they don't go together, believe me, okay? Armrest is really beneficial for the inside. It makes it easier to pull things up and hook on and pulling into that wall, okay? Don't have to. You could make one, some of you. Not that tricky a thing to build, is it? Okay? Recess tool, you could have something with a little hook, but you need something to get inside there. Good little thing. Okay, so we do that as a set. Well, let's say if you're doing one or two of these, how about this? Allen key, but shorten the length, grind it back just to create a recess tool, fit a little handle. There are ways of doing that. So you could use that hook shape to create a recess tool. All right, just for this sort of thing. You don't need it very deep. You definitely don't want all of that. So you want to come back to where my fingertip is now. All right, you don't need too deep a recess. All right. This can be great fun. I love the fact, isn't that beautiful? You can do that up. I mean, this is going to have to go home now and make a proper box now, isn't it? I mean, maybe we'll make the acorn one in this next week. It'll be easier. How about that? Isn't that lovely? Now, great way of doing it. So, Ben, we chase Fred now, okay? Next week we chase Jim or someone else. I don't know. Okay. Any other questions, mate? You all right? No? Good. Colin, if you're still there with Bob, hope you have a great show, mate. Take care of yourself. You haven't answered my question about Nick's driving yet. I want to know. Okay. We will see you Monday. We've got something on Tuesday. We're back in here, Ben. Colin will do another session from the AEW, I think, live. He's got something, a record session he's going to do over the weekend. Wednesday, Ben, I can't remember what you've got. Thursday, I've got an acorn box with a thread chase lid and the box thing. So you need to do this bit this week so you understand what we're doing next week, okay? We will see you next week. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great weekend. If you're going to the AEW, I wish I could be there. If you're not, you can't be. Colin, can you put lots of pictures on Facebook for us? Thanks, mate. See you. Take it easy. Bye, guys.